Am I the a-hole for telling my brother's wife we can't all have rich parents like her and her siblings? My brother Nicky, 25 male, is married to Liza, 24 female. They were at my parents' house on Sunday for dinner and Liza really annoyed the crap out of me, something that isn't new, and I said something in anger and I might be the a-hole for it maybe. So Liza has a wealthy family. They paid for her and her siblings' college expenses 100%. They paid for Nicky and Liza's house. They paid for their wedding. They're paying for one of their sons' weddings this summer. They can afford all that. Liza has always been very open, if trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, about it. She never hid the fact she came from money and was never shy about saying her parents pay for so much for her and her siblings. Liza doesn't understand that we're not all that lucky. I'm 19 female, work full-time and I still live with my parents. We couldn't afford college. I didn't get the grades for a scholarship. Struggled enough through school that getting into massive debt for college when I could end up flunking seemed like a bad move for me. So I focus on working and I applied for a couple of training programs close to my parents' house so I could try and do better without risking debt for nothing. Liza looks down on me so hard for living with my parents still and for not going to college. Sunday she talked about how all her siblings attended college, how 3 of them are still in college, living there and doing just fine. How they'll be able to buy houses right out of college. How even she and my brother could do it. My parents said politely that not everyone can do all that. But then she talked about being 19 and not in college or living on my own and how I should really try so much harder. I snapped at that moment and I told her we can't all have rich parents who can afford to pay our ways through college, for our weddings and for our houses. I told her my parents didn't have that kind of money and neither did I, so we were doing our best in this shitty fucking economy. Liza told me I'm just lazy and making excuses and she stormed out. Nicky left a while after and he was pretty quiet. Liza used his phone to send me 30 texts 3 days later demanding I apologize and tearing me a new one for not doing it without being told, and I know it was her because she texts in a very specific way. Am I the a-hole?
Not the a-hole. Liza had no right to judge you or to voice her opinion about what you are doing with your life. It sounds like her negative comments are untrue. She accused you of being lazy, but you are working full-time and seeking out opportunities to better yourself. College is not for everyone, and as you said, it could lead to significant debt. It is not uncommon for 19-year-olds to be living with their parents in this economy. She clearly has a very entitled perspective. Not many people can afford to buy houses straight of college. Unless you haven't included things that you said in your response, I don't see that you said anything that you need to apologize for. You simply told her that neither you nor your parents had the funds to make college or moving out happen. She was the one that made nasty comments to you, so if anyone should apologize, it would be Liza.
The one being lazy here is Liza. The only thing she is doing is holding up her hand and collecting her family's wealth.
Not the a-hole. In fact, she is the one who owes you an apology for how she treats you. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who take their fortune for granted. Kudos to you for realizing college may not be for you at this time or ever and trying to figure out your path. Here is the apology I would send. I am sorry. Sorry that you have been handed so much for free that you have no understanding for how the majority of the people in this world have to work to get by. I hope you will do your best to rectify this.
You're not the a-hole. Your sister-in-law is living in a delusional dreamland. Her parents may have bought her all kinds of material things, but they sure never taught her manners or self-reliance. You're going to have to work for everything you have, and you will end up being a lot more appreciative for everything you have and a lot more realistic as well as less judgmental of everyone else. Guess which one of you is the one most of us would prefer to have as a friend?
Not the a-hole. Your brother did not stand up for you. He is going to regret marrying that woman, or he should regret it unless he became like her.
Am I the a-hole for telling my mother that she doesn't look so skinny herself after she called my daughter fat and ignoring her attempts to help? I, 42 female, have a 15 female daughter named Mary. She's been a bit kavya than other girls since she hit puberty at age 10. It's been a huge source of stress for her, and there's been multiple incidents where she attempts some crazy diet. In 6th grade, while at a sleepaway camp for music, she didn't eat for a week except for a few granola bars. She's at a point now where she's a bit more accepting of her body and isn't going to do anything reckless, but we have to be extra careful to not mention weight stuff around her because it makes her upset. I really want to emphasize that she doesn't eat anything more than what other girls her age eat, and if anything, she eats less. She's had doctors walk in the room and tell her that she's really big for her age, and girls at school saying similar. My daughter is at a loss of what to do. She exercises and eats healthy. Anyways, my mother pointed out at dinner 2 days ago that she was tubby, and she suggested that I put her on a pill and sign her up for Weight Watchers or a similar program. Ever since then, she's been texting me with resources, and I got so mad at her refusal to stop that I told her that she should check out some of those resources because she wasn't looking so skinny herself. She told me to fuck off, and then she blocked me and left me wondering if I'm the a-hole in this situation.
Not the a-hole. Mom can't handle a taste of her own medicine, apparently. As for your daughter, have thyroid and pituitary issues been ruled out? Excess weight can be caused by unbalanced hormones. As long as she is healthy, it doesn't matter how she looks.
No, and that's actually what I suspect, but I haven't been able to take her in for blood work and such to confirm.
Normally I'd say something about not stooping to their level or whatever, but I actually think you may have made a necessary point here. It doesn't feel very good when someone is pointing out your physical size and offering up helpful suggestions on how to change yourself to fit their standards. Sounds like you told her to stop before it got to that point, so you escalated and did what you needed to do. It may be better to have a direct conversation about what kinds of conversations and comments are allowed around your daughter when you're both calmer though. She's from a different time and we know better now how harmful things like she was doing can be. Not the a-hole.
I've had many conversations with her about what's acceptable and what isn't, and she knows the expectations. But she believes that I'm coddling my daughter by allowing her to think that 150 is an acceptable weight for a young lady.
Not the a-hole. She deserved to be blocked. She could have expressed a concern for her granddaughter's health once, but then should have dropped it. If I were her mom, though, I'd be concerned, especially if even her doctor mentions it. If you're sure she's eating healthy, no excess carbs, excess sugar, and she's active, and I mean actually eating healthy food, not necessarily what her friends are eating, like a lot of processed food, then I'd be wondering if something was going on medically and ask the doctor for some tests. Various medical issues can cause weight gain.
Your mom is an old lady doing old lady shit. You hold it against her or you don't, but you are not the a-hole either way. Just don't expect mom to change.
Am I the a-hole for not caving into my 5 Yo's hunger strike? My fiancé and I, 22 male and 21 female, have 2 kids, 5 female and 3 female. Our 5-year-old, Sophie, is very strong-willed and tends to go through picky phases. Right now her thing is she wants an egg and cheese sandwich for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. All it is scrambled eggs with whatever kind of cheese we have in the house on white bread. She's also determined that I am the only person allowed to make her egg and cheese sandwiches. I have stage 2 melanoma. Most of the time I'm okay, but I need to take a few days to rest after chemo, and I don't cook on those days. My mom is also staying with us to help with the kids and take me to appointments. Sophie tends to do these little hunger strikes where she says she won't eat anything but whatever food she wants at the moment, and I have to be the one to make it. The thing is, by 10 to 11 a.m., she tends to crumble and agree to only have a cheesy egg sandwich for breakfast and eat other foods my fiancé's or mom's cooking. Well, now my dad is visiting and he tends to spoil the kids. I had chemo yesterday and Sophie is currently demanding that I get up and make her sandwich, and every 5 minutes I have my dad coming in to tell me to make the sandwich. He knows I'm not feeling well, but it's less than 5 minutes and Sophie needs to eat. I told him she'll stop when she realizes she won't get her way, but he thinks I'm being a bad mom by not getting up and giving in to this hunger strike that happens almost every weekend. Am I the a-hole for not giving in to the hunger strike?
Not the a-hole. Stand firm. This is cancer and chemo. A 5-year-old understands what is going on and she is testing your dad.
She does this almost every weekend, even when he isn't here. She just thinks she can get away with it when she won't have to go to school hungry. When she tried the hunger strike before school, she went to school without breakfast. We don't have anything going on most weekends that require her to eat breakfast.
You would be a bad mom if you did give in to these hunger strikes. Your kid will be going to school soon. She is going to have to get used to eating food not made by your, no doubt, magic hands. And your dad, over here hounding you to get up and make food to feed your kid, when you are a cancer patient undergoing chemo, and there is somebody else in the house that is perfectly capable of feeding the little girl? Oh, hell no. Tell your dad to go pound sand. What is he bringing to the table here? Is he here to help you? It sure doesn't sound like it. He can keep his opinions to himself or he can go home. Not the a-hole.
He's taking Sophie to the zoo and out for dinner, then leaving. I just need to deal with him for another hour before they go.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to give up opportunities that come my way for my sister's sake? My older sister Rita, 20 female, is disabled. My sister's disability comes with a lot of health issues, and while mentally she's capable, physically she cannot do much and struggled even with regular school. She never graduated high school because she got so sick in senior year that it set her way back and she didn't get the grades to graduate. She was offered the chance to repeat, but she said no because she was still really bad afterward. It's something that causes her a lot of distress, and she still cries because she feels like she failed in the worst way. Nobody can convince her differently. She doesn't work and she doesn't go to school or anything. She's at home and gets taken care of by our parents. I, 17 female, am still in school and I'm going into my senior year. There have been a lot of discussions about college or what other avenue I could go down. I was given information on this apprenticeship that could be perfect for me, and my guidance counselor wanted me to give it consideration over the summer because they take high school graduates. It's exciting. Rita was super upset to hear I had so many options. And not for the first time, my parents expected me to think of her before making decisions. They suggested I focus on looking at community colleges only or not going to college at all and going into retail or a service industry job. They told me I could afford my own place if I were to do that. I didn't get to go to camp because Rita couldn't and they didn't want me to have experiences she couldn't. I wasn't allowed to participate in school plays because Rita couldn't participate in hers. My parents would actually stop my teachers from including me. They refused to sign a permission slip that would have allowed me to enter a competition on behalf of my school because Rita would never get to have an experience like that herself and they didn't feel it was right for me to have it then. The permission slip came in because some travel might be involved if I were to go anywhere. They pulled me out of art classes when I was young because I was doing super well and getting a lot of praise. My parents actually pressured me to ask if I could lead the classes. But they pulled me regardless. Rita would always get upset when I achieved something or got presented with a great opportunity. She'd cry, ask me why I got everything, and she got nothing. I felt bad for her, but also resentful of the fact she was glad when our parents held me back. This became a fight when the college stuff came up again and my parents saw me looking up the apprenticeship and my parents asked me how I could even think about going and how selfish I would be. They said I should aim for something lower for Rita's sake. Rita heard us argue about it and she said she knows I'm too selfish to give it up for her. I told them I hated them for expecting me to. Rita and my parents said I had no sense of family loyalty at all. Am I the a-hole?
Not the a-hole. You need to talk to a school counselor about what your options are as far as paying for college. Make yourself as independent from your parents as possible. You will need their information in order to get FAFSA, and it doesn't seem like they'd be willing to support you in that, so you need to start looking at other options. Your counselor should be able to help. Try to be as financially independent from them as possible, even if it means you don't go to college right away and work for a while to save up. Don't be in a position to need their help. Try to make a plan so that when you graduate or turn 18, you can just leave and not have to rely on them. Reach out to friends, family members, etc. You are not just an extension of your sister, and while I'm sure your sister's disability has been very hard on them and Rita, it's not your fault. It's also not your responsibility to be a self-sacrificing martyr so that Rita doesn't get upset. You are a whole person with your own identity. Start planning now. Also, is this a cultural thing? Their reaction is severe and very odd. Edited to add, stop telling them your plans. Lay low, talk to your school counselors, look into all the advice suggested here, but give your family no indication of what you are doing, so that when you are legally an adult and are leave for college, move out, whatever your plan is, you can just leave and they can't do anything to stop you or sabotage it.
Not the a-hole. This is appalling. My parents asked me how I could even think about going and how selfish I would be. You're the only one who isn't being selfish. They said I should aim for something lower for Rita's sake. They're a disgrace. She said she knows I'm too selfish to give it up for her. For her? Does she think that she could take your place? You're the only sane one there.
Not the a-hole. But I'm sorry to say this sounds like emotional abuse. Try to talk to someone, maybe at school or a family member. They are forcing you to live your sister's life. But you have your own life. You are your own person. If they cannot see that, you need to leave that house as soon as possible. Try to go low contact for a while as well until they apologize for what they have done. You are not being selfish for having your own life. Your sister is being selfish for denying you one. Your parents are being absolute aholies for forcing it on you.
I'll get out once I'm 18. That was always sorta my plan anyway.
Not the a-hole. While everybody has to make sacrifices when it comes to a loved one having a disability, you should not be expected to give up your entire life to accommodate what's best for everyone else. It seems like your parents have already forced you to do that enough. They deprived you of things you wanted out of it being unfair to your sister, when honestly it just seems like they wanted you to be her babysitter so they didn't have to. You owe nothing to them, you've already done enough and had enough taken from you. The manipulation isn't going to stop unless you make it stop. I know it's a tough thing to do, but my advice would be to put your foot down and tell them you're going to do the things you want to do. If you want to go for that apprenticeship, go for it. If you want to go away to college, do it. I would highly recommend it to you. It sounds like your family is trying to limit you so that they control your life. It's your life, not theirs. You deserve to experience everything you want to.
Am I the a-hole for telling my mom she's being a bully and making her leave my house? My husband and I are expecting twins. This was news that was both really amazing because infertility on my end and worrying because of bad experiences on his end. To cut what could be a very long story short, my husband has 3 sets of twins in his family. He has twin siblings, he has twin cousins, and his grandfather is a twin. His siblings are identical twins, while the cousins and grandfather are fraternal twins. The twins in my husband's family do not fit the stereotype that twins are best friends and always have each other's backs and love doing things together. His siblings and cousins hate each other, and he never met his grandfather's twin because the two of them haven't spoken in what must be 60 years by now. In his experience, being twins makes you less close. He also acknowledges the societal pressure can be another factor of that because the assumption is there that you'll be closer than anyone. Twins was such a huge surprise for us that my husband went into panic mode and he has struggled with anxiety since. So he started therapy. He worries that our kids will end up as bad as his sisters, who have done some horrible shit to each other out of spite and malice toward each other. He lived with them every day growing up, and he said it only got worse the older they got. My family is aware of the anxiety he feels, and my mom has been so shitty about it. She minimized it at first, and I made it clear that needed to stop. But she made comments to him behind my back until he told me. She was calling him pathetic for a man and saying he was going to make our twins feel like they had to be close or he'd fall apart in front of them. Even though she knew he was working through it. She called him a lesser man because of this. When he told me I was so pissed, I confronted her, told her that she had no business being so awful to him over this, said she's being a bully and I won't stand for it, and I made her leave. She was shocked, angry. My dad is also angry I made her leave. They said I had no business calling her a bully. Am I the a-hole?
Wow, not the a-hole. Good on you for handling things the way you did, and good on your hubby for going to therapy for his anxiety. It doesn't make him less of a man, but more in my opinion. He is rightfully afraid for his little ones due to the twins he grew up around, but knows things could be different for his children and is working on his anxiety so he can be the best dad to your children. If your dad doesn't see anything wrong with what your mom said, then they both have issues. She said nasty things to your husband even after you asked her to stop. Since she can't take what you say seriously and correct her behavior like an adult, she rightfully should leave your house. You did nothing wrong as much as that hurt her. Her feelings are more important than your husband's well-being.
She was calling him pathetic for a man. She called him a lesser man because of this. Welp. That would be it for me. Oh well, mom and dad would be going into a nice long time out. Maybe permanently. If anyone dared to try to hurt my husband for expressing and addressing his emotions, they'd feel the full extent of my wrath. It's time that we stop shaming men for having fears and feelings. Long past due.
Not the a-hole. Your mom acted like a bully and then pulls a surprised Pikachu face when called out on it. People like that will try and make you feel like you need to apologize to them when their actions start things in the first place. Stand your ground. She's in the wrong and needs to apologize.
What do you think of these stories? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel to see more interesting videos.